The biting winter wind howled through the empty streets of downtown Manhattan, carrying snowflakes that danced like tiny diamonds in the dim glow of street lamps. Alexander Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Enterprises, gripped his steering wheel tighter as he navigated his Mercedes through an unfamiliar neighborhood. The leather seat's warmth couldn't chase away the chill that had settled in his bones, not from the weather, but from the inexplicable feeling that something was about to change his life forever. His designer watch showed 11:47 p.m. He should have been home hours ago, in his penthouse apartment with its panoramic view of Central Park. Instead, here he was, driving through the working-class district of Queens, following what he could only describe as an instinct. The board meeting had ended late, but that wasn't why he'd taken this detour. Something had pulled him here, away from his usual route. The snow was falling heavier now, transforming the city into a white canvas. Alexander slowed down as he approached a corner, his headlights cutting through the curtain of snowflakes. That's when he saw it, a small bundle on the sidewalk, barely visible against the growing blanket of snow. His first thought was that someone had carelessly thrown out their garbage, but as he drew closer, something made him stop the car. Through the passenger window, he could make out movement within the bundle. Heart pounding, he pulled over and stepped out into the bitter cold. The bundle stirred again. Alexander's expensive Italian shoes crunched in the fresh snow as he approached. What he found made his blood freeze colder than the winter air. A baby, wrapped in a thin blanket, tiny face red from the cold. Beside the infant lay a crumpled note, its edges dampened by snow. With trembling fingers, he picked up the paper. The handwriting was hurried but clear. "If you found this baby, please take care of him. Your blood runs in his veins more than you know." Alexander's world tilted on its axis. The words on the paper seemed to burn into his retinas, triggering a cascade of memories he'd spent years trying to suppress. 18 months ago, the charity gala. Sarah Mitchell, with her emerald eyes and infectious laugh. The whirlwind romance that followed, kept secret from the press and his board of directors. The bitter argument when she discovered the truth about his business practices. Her disappearance. Without hesitation, he wrapped the baby in his cashmere coat and rushed back to the car. The nearest hospital was 10 minutes away. As he drove, his mind raced faster than the vehicle. The timing matched. The location, this was Sarah's old neighborhood. The note's cryptic message took on a horrifying clarity. In the rearview mirror, he could see the bundle stirring. The baby hadn't made a sound, but Alexander could feel the weight of responsibility already settling on his shoulders. His phone buzzed in his pocket, probably his assistant wondering why he hadn't confirmed tomorrow's meetings. But for the first time in his carefully controlled life, business would have to wait. The emergency room entrance loomed ahead, its red lights reflecting off the falling snow. As Alexander parked haphazardly near the entrance, his thoughts turned to Sarah. Where was she? Why had she left their baby here in the cold? The note suggested she knew he would find the child, but how? Medical staff rushed out with a gurney as he explained the situation. The baby was whisked away for examination, leaving Alexander standing in the sterile hospital corridor, still clutching the note. Their security guard approached, asking for details he couldn't provide. How could he explain what he himself didn't understand? As he sank into an uncomfortable plastic chair in the waiting room, Alexander pulled out his phone. With trembling fingers, he scrolled through his contacts until he found the number he'd sworn never to use again. James Cooper, former detective turned private investigator. If anyone could unravel this mystery, it would be Cooper. The call connected on the third ring. "Cooper," a gruff voice answered. "I need your help," Alexander said, his voice barely steady. "It's about Sarah Mitchell." The silence on the other end stretched for several heartbeats before Cooper responded, "I thought we agreed never to mention that name again." "Things have changed," Alexander replied, watching the snow continue to fall outside the hospital windows. "She's back. At least, I think she is. And she's left me something I can't ignore." James Cooper's office was exactly as Alexander remembered it, a cluttered space that smelled of stale coffee and cigarettes, though Cooper had quit smoking years ago. Early morning light filtered through Venetian blinds, casting striped shadows across the detective's weathered face as he examined the note for the 5th time. "You're sure this is her handwriting?" Cooper asked, reaching for his perpetually full coffee mug. Alexander nodded, pacing the small office. "I'd recognize it anywhere. We exchanged enough letters during those months." He paused, running a hand through his disheveled hair. The hospital had kept the baby overnight for observation, and he hadn't slept a wink, his mind racing with possibilities and fears. Cooper leaned back in his chair, which creaked in protest. "Let's review what we know. Sarah Mitchell disappeared 18 months ago, right after your company's merger with Tech Solutions. No trace, no contact, nothing. Now suddenly there's a baby, your baby apparently, left in the snow with a cryptic note." "The timing fits," Alexander said quietly, "and the location, that was her neighborhood before she vanished." Cooper's eyes narrowed. "You never told me why she really disappeared. Our original investigation hit a wall because you withheld information. If you want my help now, I need the whole truth." Alexander stopped pacing, staring out the window at the city below. The snow had stopped, but the sky remained heavy with gray clouds. "She discovered something during the merger, something I'd tried to keep buried. The missing funds from the pension accounts." Alexander spun around, shock evident on his face. "How did you—" "I'm a detective, Reynolds. Or I was. Just because you called off the investigation doesn't mean I stopped looking." Cooper pulled a thick file from his desk drawer. "Sarah Mitchell wasn't just your lover. She was a forensic accountant working for the SEC. She was investigating your company even before you met." The revelation hit Alexander like a physical blow. He sank into the chair across from Cooper's desk, his legs suddenly unable to support him. "She never told me." "Of course not, but I'm guessing she found something bigger than missing pension funds, didn't she?" Cooper's voice remained neutral, but his eyes were sharp, something that made her run. Before Alexander could respond, his phone buzzed. The hospital. His heart jumped as he answered, listening intently to the doctor's update. When he hung up, his face had lost all color. "What is it?" Cooper asked, leaning forward. "The baby. They found something unusual in his blanket. A hidden pocket with a USB drive." Alexander's voice shook slightly. "And there was another note. It says, 'The truth is in the numbers. Remember Venice.'" Cooper's eyebrows shot up. "Venice? 3 years ago, I attended a business conference. There. That's where I first met Marcus Stone." Alexander's expression darkened. "My former business partner, the one who disappeared with half our company's assets 6 months before Sarah vanished. The one who was never found," Cooper added, pulling a notepad toward him. "Tell me about him." Alexander closed his eyes, memories flooding back. Marcus was brilliant but unstable. He had theories about corporate conspiracy, international finance manipulation. I thought he was paranoid. Then he started gathering evidence, making connections. One day he called me, ranting about having proof that would bring down the entire system. The next day he was gone. Cooper scribbled notes, his coffee growing cold. "And you think these events are connected? Marcus, Sarah, the baby?" "They have to be. Sarah was investigating the company. Marcus found something that scared him enough to run, and now," Alexander gestured helplessly, "now we have a baby with your DNA and a USB drive that might contain whatever they both discovered." Cooper stood up, grabbing his worn leather jacket. "First things first, we need to see what's on that drive. But Reynolds," he paused, fixing Alexander with a stern look, "if we do this, we do it my way. No more secrets, no more holding back information. Whatever Sarah and Marcus found, it's big enough that they both had to disappear. We need to be careful." Alexander nodded slowly, the weight of the situation settling over him like a heavy cloak. "Agreed, but Cooper, there's something else you should know." He pulled out his phone, showing the detective a text message he'd received that morning. "The child is just the beginning. Every secret has its price. Are you ready to pay yours?" The cybersecurity lab in Cooper's office building was a stark contrast to his cluttered workspace. Pristine white walls surrounded state-of-the-art equipment, and the air hummed with the sound of powerful computers. Maya Chen, Cooper's trusted tech expert, inserted the USB drive with practiced precision, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she worked to bypass the encryption. "This is military-grade security," Maya muttered, her dark eyes reflecting lines of code. "Whoever created this didn't want it found easily." She paused, adjusting her glasses. "But they did want it found eventually. There's a backdoor built into the encryption. It's like they left us a key." Alexander leaned forward, his tie loosened and sleeves rolled up after hours of waiting. "Can you access it?" Maya nodded slowly, still typing. The password hint references Venice, something about a meeting by the canal. She glanced at Alexander questioningly, his face lit up with recognition. "The Café Florian. That's where Marcus and I had our last conversation before he disappeared." He quickly typed in the cafe's address, but the system rejected it. "No, wait. Marcus always said the real conversations happen after hours." He modified the entry. Café Florian 23, Sao. The Teamsier screen flickered, then filled with folders. Maya whistled softly. Financial records, corporate documents, photographs. This is massive. She opened a video file, and Marcus Stone's face filled the screen. He looked haggard, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled, eyes wild with urgency. "If you're watching this, Alexander, it means Sarah found you. Yes, I've been in contact with her. Everything I discovered, everything I tried to warn you about, she found it too. Independently. That's when I knew it wasn't just paranoia." Alexander gripped the back of Maya's chair, knuckles white. The Marcus in the video ran a trembling hand through his grey-streaked hair. The merger wasn't just about business. It was a cover for something bigger. Remember the discrepancies I showed you? The missing funds, they were just the surface. Tech Solutions was a front, Alexander, a front for an international network of... The video crackled with interference before continuing. "They're using our company's legitimate transactions to hide their operations. When I confronted them, they made it clear. Play along or disappear." Cooper cursed under his breath, scribbling notes. The video continued, Marcus's voice growing more urgent. Sarah recognized the patterns in their financial algorithms. She was getting too close, just like I did. That's why she had to run. But she had something I didn't, evidence, real, undeniable proof, the kind that could expose everything. Marcus leaned closer to the camera. "The baby, he's yours, Alexander. Sarah told me before she went into hiding. She wanted to tell you herself, but it wasn't safe. They were watching her too closely." Alexander's legs gave way, and he sank into a nearby chair. The image of Sarah, alone and afraid, carrying their child while running from unseen enemies, was almost unbearable. "The proof is scattered across multiple locations," Marcus continued. "Safety measures. Sarah has half, I have half. The next piece is where it all started, the Venice archives. You'll need both keys to access it. Sarah will know when it's time to contact you. Just be careful, Alexander. These people, they're not just businessmen. They're..." The video cut off. Abruptly. Maya immediately began searching through other files. There's more. Financial records, transaction logs, communication records, and coordinates. Multiple sets. Cooper leaned in, studying the numbers. These are locations, all over Europe and Asia. He pulled out his phone, quickly typing. "The first set, it's an address in Venice, a safety deposit box." "We need to go there," Alexander said, standing up. "If what Marcus said is true, if Sarah has the other half of the evidence..." "Slow down," Cooper warned. "We're not the only ones looking for these answers. Someone's been watching you since the baby appeared. We need to be smart about this." A soft ping from Maya's computer interrupted them. Guys," she pointed to the screen. "Someone's trying to access this drive remotely right now." Cooper's expression hardened. "Can you trace it?" Maya's fingers blurred across the keyboard. "The signal's bouncing all over the place, but..." "Wait," her eyes widened. "It's coming from inside the city, Upper East Side." Alexander's phone buzzed with a new message. "You're getting warmer, but remember, curiosity got the cat. Sarah learned that lesson. Are you sure you want to follow her path?" Cooper read the message over Alexander's shoulder, his jaw tightening. "They're trying to scare us off, which means we're getting close to something they don't want us to find." "No," Alexander said, his voice firm. "They're trying to distract us. While we're looking at Venice, the real answers might be right here in New York." He turned to Maya. "Can you find the exact location of that signal?" She nodded, already working. "Give me an hour. Whoever this is, they're good, but I'm better." Alexander looked at the frozen image of Marcus on the screen, then at the message on his phone. Somewhere in the city, Sarah was waiting. His son was safe in the hospital, and between them lay a web of secrets that threatened to unravel everything he'd built. "We need to move fast," Cooper said, checking his gun discreetly. "Once they realize we've accessed the drive, they'll change tactics, and next time they might not just leave warnings." The Upper East Side address led them to an elegant brownstone with pristine white columns and immaculately trimmed topiaries. Maya had traced the signal to this location, but something felt off. The building was too perfect, too quiet in the late afternoon sun. "This isn't right," Cooper muttered, observing from their parked car across the street. No security cameras, no signs of activity. For people with this much power, they're being suspiciously low-key. Alexander studied the building, memories stirring. "Wait, I know this place. Sarah mentioned it once. She said it belonged to her mentor at the SEC, someone named Elizabeth Crawford." "Elizabeth Crawford?" Cooper's head snapped around. The same Elizabeth Crawford who was investigating financial fraud cases before suddenly retiring 2 years ago. The timing matches up with the merger, Alexander realized. Could she have... They been involved? Before Cooper could respond, Maya's voice crackled through their earpieces from her mobile command center 2 blocks away. "Movement inside. Someone just accessed a computer on the 2nd floor." Cooper checked his watch. "Broad daylight. Not ideal, but we might not get another chance. You ready for this, Reynolds?" Alexander straightened his tie, adopting the confident posture that had served him through countless business negotiations. "Lead the way." They approached the front door casually like any other visitors in this upscale neighborhood. Cooper pressed the doorbell, and its chime echoed inside. No response. "Back entrance," Alexander suggested, but Cooper was already picking the lock with practiced efficiency. The interior was a study in expensive minimalism, all clean lines and abstract art. Their footsteps were muffled by thick carpeting as they made their way upstairs. The 2nd floor was similarly pristine, except for one detail that made Alexander's skin crawl. A familiar perfume lingered in the air, the same scent Sarah used to wear. The study door was ajar, warm light spilling into the hallway. Cooper drew his gun, motioning for Alexander to stay back. But when they entered the room, they found it empty, though not abandoned. A laptop sat open on the desk, its screen displaying a simple message. "Welcome home, Alexander." "It's a trap," Cooper started to say, but the words were cut off by the sound of the front door opening downstairs. "Quick, the balcony," Alexander whispered. They slipped outside, just as footsteps approached the study. Through the glass doors, they watched as an elegant woman in her 60s entered the room. Elizabeth Crawford hadn't changed much since the newspaper photos from her SEC days, still radiating authority and cool competence. She walked directly to the laptop, seemingly unsurprised by its active state. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, and Alexander's phone vibrated in his pocket. Another message. "Sarah trusted me. Now you must too. Tomorrow noon, Central Park Zoo. Come alone." Cooper read the message and shook his head firmly. "No way. It's too exposed." "She knows about Sarah," Alexander countered. "She might be our only link. Or she might be working with them. Think about it. A former SEC investigator suddenly retires right when this conspiracy is taking shape. That's not a coincidence." Elizabeth's voice drifted through the glass, making them both freeze. She was on the phone, her tone clipped and professional. "Yes, he found the drive just as we expected. No, Sarah's location remains secure. The child. Yes, the child is safe. For now." Alexander's fists clenched at the casual way she discussed his son. Cooper grabbed his arm, warning him to stay still. "The Venice connection is a concern," Elizabeth continued, "if he discovers what's in those archives. Yes, I understand. It will be handled." She ended the call and sat heavily in her chair, rubbing her temples. To their surprise, she spoke again, this time seemingly to the empty room. "I know you're there, Alexander. You and your detective friend. I'm not your enemy, but I can't explain everything now. They're watching, always watching, if you want. To understand why Sarah ran, why she kept your son hidden, be at the zoo tomorrow. And Alexander? She turned directly toward the balcony. Trust no one, not even me. Cooper pulled Alexander back as Elizabeth stood and walked out of the study. They waited several minutes before slipping back inside and down to the street, questions multiplying with every step. She knew we were there the whole time, Alexander said as they drove away. She wanted us to hear that conversation. The question is why? Cooper's expression was grim. And more importantly, whose side is she really on? Maya's voice came through their earpieces again. Guys, something's happening with the USB drive data. Files are disappearing, being corrupted. Someone's trying to wipe it remotely. Can you stop it? I'm trying, but wait, one of the files is different. It's not being deleted. It's being decoded. I think someone's helping us. Alexander thought of Elizabeth's words. Trust no one, not even me. What's in the file, Maya? Coordinates again, but these aren't in Venice. She paused. They're right here in New York. Some kind of underground storage facility, and there's a name attached to the file, Project Odyssey. Cooper's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I've heard that name before. In my days on the force, there were rumors about a massive financial scheme called Odyssey, but every detective who looked into it either backed off or disappeared, just like Marcus, just like Sarah. Central Park Zoo hummed with the usual midday crowd, tourists snapping photos, children racing between exhibits, parents trying to keep up. Alexander sat on a bench near the sea lion pool, a newspaper open on his lap despite Cooper's vocal objections to this meeting. Let me at least keep a team nearby, Cooper had insisted that morning, but Alexander knew Elizabeth Crawford would. Spot any surveillance. This had to be handled her way. The zoo clock struck 12 and right on cue, Elizabeth appeared. She wore a casual pantsuit and carried a shopping bag from the zoo gift shop, blending perfectly with the crowd of grandparents, treating their grandchildren to souvenirs. Don't look up, she said softly, sitting beside him. Keep reading your paper. We're being watched, but not by who you think. Alexander's fingers tightened on the newspaper. Where's Sarah? Safe. Which is more than I can say for you if you keep digging. Elizabeth's voice remained conversational, as if they were discussing the weather. The baby complicated things. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. What wasn't? The truth, Elizabeth, I need to know. She sighed, her composed facade cracking slightly. Sarah was my best student at the SEC. Too good, really. She saw patterns others missed. When she started investigating tech solutions, I warned her to back off. I knew what happened to others who got too close. Like Marcus Stone? Marcus was brilliant but reckless. He thought exposing everything at once was the answer. He didn't understand the bigger picture. Elizabeth paused as a group of schoolchildren passed by. What Sarah found went beyond simple financial fraud. Tech solutions was just one piece of a global network. Banking systems, government contracts, international aid, all manipulated through a series of complex algorithms. Alexander felt a chill despite the warm spring day. The missing pension funds were a test. The network needed to verify their control over your company's systems. When Marcus noticed and began investigating, they decided to use him. Make him the scapegoat, but he figured it out and ran. She slipped something from her bag, a small leather-bound notebook. Sarah found his research, hidden in encrypted servers. She was close to connecting all the pieces when she discovered she was pregnant. The sea lions barked loudly, making both of them jump. Elizabeth continued, her voice lower. She came to me, terrified. Not for herself, but for the baby. She knew they would use the child to control you both. So we created a plan. She would disappear, gather evidence from safe locations, while I monitored their movements from the inside. The inside? Alexander's head snapped up. You're working with them? Keep your voice down, Elizabeth hissed. It's complicated. After they forced my retirement, I was approached by someone, a watchdog group that's been tracking this network. For years, they needed someone on the inside, someone with connections. She pressed the notebook into his hand. This contains everything Sarah couldn't put on the drive. Account numbers, contact protocols, safe house locations. But Alexander, her eyes met his, intense and worried. If they know you have this, they'll come for you. Hard. Let them come. I need to find Sarah. It's not that simple. The network has operatives everywhere. Banks, police departments, corporate offices. Trust the wrong person and... She stopped abruptly, her attention caught by something across the plaza. We're out of time. Grey suit by the reptile house. He's one of theirs. Get up slowly. Walk toward the exit. Don't look back. Alexander began to rise, but Elizabeth grabbed his arm. One more thing. The storage. Facility coordinates Maya found? It's a trap. The real evidence is somewhere else. Sarah left you a clue in the baby's blanket, not the USB drive, something else. Find it. She stood, raising her voice to a cheerful tone. Well, enjoy the rest of your visit. The penguins are wonderful this time of year. Without another glance, she walked away, merging seamlessly with a tour group. Alexander waited 30 seconds, then headed for the exit, the notebook burning in his pocket. He spotted the man in the grey suit in his peripheral vision, casually, speaking into a phone. As he passed the gift shop, his own phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Next time, bring the baby. Sarah would love to see how he's grown. His heart pounding, Alexander hurried through the zoo gates. Cooper was waiting in an unmarked car 2 blocks away, Maya in the back with her laptop. Well? Cooper demanded as Alexander slid into the passenger seat. Elizabeth's working with some kind of watchdog group. The network, it's bigger than we imagined. Government contracts, international banking. He handed Cooper the notebook. And they're using my son to send Sarah messages. We need to get back to the hospital. Maya spoke up from the back seat. About that, I've been monitoring the hospital's security feeds. 10 minutes ago, 2 men in suits arrived. They're showing badges, asking questions about the baby. Cooper threw the car into drive. Official badges? They look real, but after what Elizabeth said about their reach. No one touches my son, Alexander growled. Get us to the hospital, now. As they sped through Manhattan traffic, Alexander remembered Elizabeth's words about another clue in the blanket. What had they missed? And more importantly, would they reach the hospital in time to prevent his son from becoming another pawn in this deadly game? The pediatric ward of Mount Sinai Hospital was eerily quiet when they arrived. Cooper led the way, his hand hovering near his concealed weapon, while Maya monitored the security feeds through her tablet. Alexander's heart thundered in his chest as they approached his son's room. Third-floor cameras show the men left 10 minutes ago, Maya whispered. But something's not right. They didn't check out at security. A nurse Alexander recognized, Angela, who had been caring for his son, hurried toward them, her face tight with concern. Mr. Reynolds, thank goodness. 2 federal agents were here asking about the baby. Their credentials seemed legitimate, but what? Alexander pressed. One of them knew the baby's name. Angela wrung her hands. We never registered one. He's still listed as baby doe in our system. Cooper cursed under his breath. They have inside access to the hospital records. Maya? On it. Her fingers flew across the tablet. Checking for unauthorized system access. Got something. Someone's been manually overriding the security protocols on this floor for the past hour. They reached the baby's room, and Alexander's breath caught. The guard he'd hired was slumped in his chair, apparently sleeping. Cooper checked his pulse. He's been drugged. Get a doctor now. Alexander burst into the room expecting the worst, but his son lay peacefully in the hospital crib, tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. The relief was overwhelming. He's okay, Angela assured him, checking the baby's vitals. But Mr. Reynolds, they left something. She pointed to a manila envelope on the bedside table. Cooper pulled on latex gloves before carefully opening the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Sarah, clearly pregnant, sitting in what appeared to be a cafe. The image was recent, dated just 2 weeks ago. On the back was written, "She's closer than you think, but are you ready for what she'll tell you?" Hi. Blanket, Alexander suddenly remembered. Elizabeth said there was another clue in the blanket besides the USB drive. He gently lifted his sleeping son and unwrapped the familiar blue blanket. This time he examined every inch, every seam. There, nearly invisible unless you knew to look for it, a series of numbers and letters had been embroidered along the hem in thread, matching the blanket's color exactly. Maya photographed the sequence and began working. "It's encrypted," she said after a moment. "But the pattern, it's similar to the USB drive's encryption. Give me a minute." While Maya worked, Cooper examined the room's security. "We need to move him. This place isn't safe anymore." "Move him where?" Alexander demanded. "If they have people in hospitals, police departments." "I know a place," Cooper interrupted. "Off the grid, a safe house I set up years ago. No electronic records, no paper trail." Maya's tablet pinged. "Got it. The sequence. Its coordinates. Again, but with a timestamp. 72 hours from when the baby was found and an address." She looked up, eyes wide. "It's the old public library on Fifth Avenue. The coordinates point to a specific section in the rare books room." Alexander checked his watch. "That's tomorrow afternoon. Sarah's giving us a deadline." "But why the library?" Cooper mused. "It's too public, too exposed." "No," Alexander said slowly, a memory surfacing. "It's perfect. Sarah and I had our first real conversation there in the rare books room. She was researching financial histories for the SEC investigation, and I was..." He paused. "I was looking into Marcus's claims about tech solutions. We didn't know we were investigating the same thing." A soft knock interrupted them. Dr. Chen, the pediatrician, entered with discharge papers. "Mr. Reynolds, given the circumstances, we agree the baby should be released to your care. He's healthy and strong." She hesitated. "But there is something. The men who were here, they were particularly interested in the baby's blood test results." Alexander felt a chill. "What about them?" "They're unusual. Nothing concerning health-wise," she quickly assured him. "But there are some genetic markers I've never seen before. They asked for copies of the results, but I told them they'd need a court order." Cooper stepped forward. "Did they say which agency they were from?" "FBI, but..." Dr. Chen lowered her voice. "One of them had a tattoo on his wrist. When he reached for the charts, I saw it. A small owl design. The same symbol was on a letter I received last week, warning me about reporting any unusual genetic test results to authorities." Alexander and Cooper exchanged glances. An owl, the same symbol that had been on Marcus's personal stationery. "Doctor," Cooper said carefully, "that letter, do you still have it?" She nodded. "In my office safe. I kept it because it seemed off. We need to see it now." As Dr. Chen hurried away, Alexander cradled his son closer. The baby stirred, tiny fingers gripping his father's thumb. In that moment, Alexander made a decision. "Cooper, get us to your safe house. Maya, download everything you can from the hospital's systems, then wipe all traces of our presence." He looked down at his son's peaceful face. "Tomorrow, we'll get answers from the library. But tonight we make sure my son disappears from every database, every record, every system they might access." "And if Sarah's really waiting at the library?" Cooper asked. "Then we'll finally learn what's worth risking everything to protect. Because this..." Alexander gestured to the mysterious symbols, the warnings, the threats. "This isn't just about financial fraud anymore. They're too interested in my son's genetic tests for this to be about money." The baby yawned, oblivious to the growing conspiracy surrounding his existence. Outside the window, the sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Somewhere in the city, Sarah was waiting, and tomorrow, in a quiet corner of a historic library, the truth would finally begin to emerge. Cooper's safe house turned out to be a converted boathouse on the outskirts of Staten Island, hidden behind a maze of industrial warehouses. The old wooden structure looked abandoned from the outside, but inside was a different story. State-of-the-art security systems, reinforced walls, and enough supplies to last weeks made it clear this was no ordinary hideout. "Solar-powered," Cooper explained as he disabled the elaborate security system. "No connection to the grid. Even has its own water filtration system. Been maintaining this place for years, just in case. Maya immediately set up her equipment on a sturdy table, creating a mobile command center. I've got the hospital's security footage. Those agents, they weren't just asking about the baby, they were uploading something to the hospital's mainframe. Alexander paced the room, his son sleeping peacefully in a makeshift crib fashioned from a drawer padded with blankets. What were they uploading? Working on it, Maya's screens filled with scrolling code. It looks like some kind of tracking program. They weren't just after the blood test results, they were tagging his entire medical profile. If anyone accesses his records anywhere in the country, they'll know. Can you stop it? Maya smiled grimly. Already did. Better yet, I reversed it. Now it'll flag us if anyone tries to search for him. But her expression turned serious. There's something else. Those genetic markers Dr. Chen mentioned. I found her preliminary report before wiping it. The abnormalities, they're not random. Mutations. Cooper leaned over her shoulder, studying the screen. What do you mean? They're engineered, purposeful, like someone deliberately altered specific sequences. Maya looked up at Alexander. Your son's DNA has been modified, but not in any way I've ever seen documented. Alexander sank into a chair, the implications hitting him like a physical blow. Sarah, what were you involved in? The letter, Cooper remembered suddenly, pulling out the envelope Dr. Chen had given them. Let's see what our owl-tattooed friends were so worried about. The letter was typed on expensive paper, no letterhead. The message was brief but chilling. Any genetic anomalies matching pattern Omega must be reported directly to the Office of Special Research. Standard medical protocols do not apply. Compliance is mandatory. Pattern Omega, Maya typed rapidly. Nothing on any medical database, but wait. She pulled up the files from Marcus's USB drive. Here, a folder called Omega Initiative. It's heavily encrypted, but there's a text file I can access. The file contained just 3 lines. Project successful. Subject Sarah Mitchell stable. Proceeding with Phase 2. The timestamp, Cooper noted. It's from 18 months ago, right when Sarah disappeared. Alexander stared at his sleeping son, remembering Elizabeth's words at the zoo. This wasn't just about financial fraud. The genetic tests, the modified DNA, Sarah's disappearance, it all pointed to something far more sinister. His phone buzzed, another message from the unknown number. The child is special. You've seen the test results. Tomorrow you'll understand why Sarah had to protect him. The library holds more than books. They're always one step ahead, Cooper muttered, checking the security feeds. But why let us find these breadcrumbs? Why not just take the baby? Because they need something from me, Alexander realized. The Venice archives, the library meeting. They're testing me, seeing how far I'll go. Maya's computer pinged with an alert. Movement at the hospital. Someone's trying to access the baby's deleted records. They're reconstructing the files from backup servers. Can you stop them? Not without revealing our location, but she smiled suddenly. I can give them something to chase. Creating duplicate records now, placing them in hospitals across the country. Let them waste resources checking empty leads. Cooper nodded approvingly. Good thinking. But we need more than just digital defense. That owl tattoo. I've seen it before years ago. There was a case never solved. A research facility upstate supposedly working on genetic engineering. It was raided by the FBI, but all they found were empty labs and a symbol carved into the wall. An owl, Alexander finished. Exactly. The place was owned by a subsidiary of Tech Solutions, the same company Marcus was investigating before he vanished. A soft cry from the makeshift crib drew their attention. Alexander lifted his son, who calmed immediately in his father's arms. Looking down at the tiny face, he saw Sarah's eyes. Looking back at him, what had she discovered? What was so important that she'd hide their child's very existence? The library meeting is in 14 hours, Cooper said, checking his watch. We should try to get some rest. Tomorrow will be Interesting. I'll take first watch, Maya offered, her fingers still moving across the keyboard. I've got programs running to decrypt more of Marcus's files. Maybe we'll have answers by morning. Alexander settled into an old armchair, his son nestled against his chest. Outside, the water lapped gently against the dock, a soothing rhythm in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Sarah was waiting, and tomorrow, in the hushed silence of the rare books room, he would finally learn why she'd kept their son hidden, and what made him so special that people would kill to control him. As he drifted off, the baby's warm weight anchoring him to reality, Alexander's last thought was of Sarah. Not the Sarah from the surveillance photo, hiding and afraid, but Sarah as he'd first met her, brilliant, determined and unafraid to seek the truth no matter the cost. Tomorrow he would find that truth, or it would find him. Dawn broke over the harbor in shades of pearl and gold, reflecting off the water like scattered diamonds. Maya's triumphant exclamation shattered the morning silence, jolting Alexander awake. I got in. The encryption on Marcus's files. I finally cracked it. Her screens were filled with documents, images, and what looked like complex scientific diagrams. You need to see this, all of you. Cooper, who had taken the last watch, leaned over her shoulder while Alexander gently placed his still sleeping son back in the makeshift crib. What they saw on the screen made them all catch their breath. Project Omega wasn't just about financial manipulation, Maya explained, pulling up document after document. The money, the fraud, it was all to fund this. She pointed to a series of genetic sequences. They were trying to create something, or rather someone. The documents detailed a decades-long research project involving genetic enhancement, hidden behind layers of shell companies and falsified research grants. Tech Solutions was just one of many fronts, all feeding resources into a secret program. They were modifying human DNA, Maya continued, her voice a mix of horror and fascination. Looking for ways to enhance specific traits, intelligence, physical capabilities, even emotional resilience. But there was a problem. The modifications weren't stable. The subjects, they couldn't handle the changes. Subjects? Alexander's voice was tight. You mean people? They were experimenting on people? Maya nodded grimly. Volunteers at first, then less willing participants, but none of them survived the complete process, until Sarah, Cooper finished, reading ahead. She wasn't just investigating them, she was studying them, learning their methods. And then, she found a way to make it work, Maya confirmed. These notes, they're incredible. She discovered that the key wasn't in forcing the changes, but in allowing the DNA to adapt naturally over generations. She developed a method to create subtle modifications that would strengthen over time. Alexander felt the room spin. The baby, my son, is the first success, Maya said softly. His DNA shows the markers, but they're stable, integrated perfectly into his genetic structure. He's not just carrying the modifications, he's evolving with them. Cooper cursed quietly. That's why they're so interested in him. He's proof that their project can work. Not their project, Alexander corrected, pieces falling into place. Sarah's version. She took their research and perfected it, made it safer, more ethical. That's why they're afraid. She didn't just steal their work, she improved it. Maya pulled up another file, a video. The timestamp showed it was recorded just days before Sarah disappeared. The image was grainy, but Sarah's face was clear enough. She looked tired but determined. If you're seeing this, Alexander, it means our son is safe with you. What I've done. It wasn't just about exposing their crimes. It was about protecting our future. The network, they call themselves the Athena Group, they wanted to create enhanced humans they could control, weapons they could program from birth. But I found another way, a way to give humanity a chance to evolve naturally, ethically, without turning children into experiments. She paused, touching her pregnant belly. Our son carries that potential, not as a weapon but as hope. The markers in his DNA will pass to his children and their children. Each generation will be a little stronger, a little more resilient. Natural evolution, just guided. The library coordinates. They'll lead you to everything I've discovered, all my research, all the evidence. But Alexander, her eyes seemed to stare directly through the screen. Trust your instincts about who sees it. The Athena Group isn't the only organization that would kill for this knowledge. The video ended, leaving them in stunned silence. Alexander looked at his sleeping son with new understanding. Not just a baby to be protected, but a bridge to humanity's future. His phone buzzed one last time. Now you know. The rare books room holds the final piece, but remember, knowledge is power, and power has a price. Are you ready to pay it? Cooper checked his weapons while Maya began backing up all the decrypted files to secure servers. Outside, the sun continued to rise, painting the water in brilliant colors. In a few hours, they would head to the library, where Sarah's trail would finally end, or begin anew. Alexander lifted his son, who blinked up at him with eyes that suddenly seemed older, wiser somehow. "We'll find her," he whispered, "and we'll make sure your gift helps the world, not hurts it, I promise." The baby smiled, and for a moment, Alexander could have sworn he saw a glimmer of something extraordinary in those innocent eyes, the first spark of humanity's next great leap forward. The New York Public Library stood majestic in the midday sun, its stone lions guarding secrets far beyond their usual literary domain. Alexander, dressed in a casual suit to blend with the business lunch crowd, climbed the steps with practiced nonchalance. Cooper had entered through a side door 10 minutes earlier, while Maya monitored security feeds from a cafe across the street. Two men in the main reading room, Maya's voice crackled through his earpiece, looking far too interested in their newspapers. Possible watchers. "Noted," Alexander murmured, nodding politely to the security guard as he passed through the entrance. His son was safe at the boathouse with a trusted contact of Cooper's, a former Special Forces medic who owed Cooper his life. The rare books room was located on the 3rd floor, its ornate doors a testament to the treasures within. As Alexander approached, memories of his first meeting with Sarah flooded back. She had been sitting at one of the oak tables, surrounded by financial records and historical documents, her green eyes intense with concentration. "Movement in the north stairwell," Maya reported. "Someone's following you." Alexander maintained his pace, turning casually to check his reflection in a glass display case. A man in a janitor's uniform was indeed ascending the stairs, his movements too precise for casual maintenance staff. "I see him." "Cooper?" "In position," came the detective's low response. "Rare books room is clear except for one librarian. She's legitimate. Been working here 20 years. Alexander entered the room, inhaling the familiar scent of aged paper and leather. Bindings. The coordinates from the blanket pointed to Section 317, Medieval Financial Systems. He found it quickly, remembering how Sarah had once explained that the best place to hide modern secrets was among ancient ones. The librarian glanced up briefly before returning to her cataloguing. Alexander ran his fingers along the spines, counting volumes until he reached the exact spot. There, wedged between two massive tomes on Renaissance banking, was a slim leather journal that didn't belong. "Package located," he whispered, sliding the journal out. "Company coming," Cooper warned. 2 more suits just entered the building. Alexander opened the journal, finding it filled with Sarah's familiar handwriting, but something was wrong. The words were too perfect, too deliberately written. This wasn't a journal. It was a message. "My dearest Alexander," it began. "If you're reading this, you've discovered what makes our son special, but the journal you want isn't here. Think about our first conversation, not the one about finance, the real one." He closed his eyes, remembering. After hours of research that day, they had both reached for the same coffee cup in the library's cafe. The conversation that followed had nothing to do with their investigations. They had talked about art, about the library's architecture, about the Rose reading room, Alexander breathed. She loved the ceiling. "Problem," Maya cut in urgently. "Security feeds are being looped. Someone's trying to hide their movements." "How many hostiles?" Cooper asked. "At least 5 that I can track. They're blocking exits." Alexander replaced the decoy journal and moved casually toward the door. The Rose reading room was on the other side of the building. To reach it, he'd have to cross exposed territory. "Wait," Maya said suddenly. Something's happening on the street. A woman just entered the coffee shop. Alexander. She matches Sarah's description. His heart jumped. What's she doing? Ordering coffee, very calmly, and she just looked directly at my camera and nodded. Cooper cursed softly. It's a signal. She's telling us there's another player in the game. The fake janitor appeared at the end of the hallway, speaking quietly into his collar. Alexander turned the other way, his pace measured. The Rose reading room had multiple entrances and one secret that few knew about. Maya. Can you access the building's original blueprints? Already on it. Wait. In the 1920s renovation, they added a maintenance passage behind the north wall. It connects to the old service elevator, Alexander finished. Sarah mentioned it once. She was fascinated by the library's hidden spaces. He reached the magnificent reading room, its barrel-vaulted ceiling adorned with clouds and golden light. At this hour it was busy with researchers and students. Perfect cover. 3 hostiles converging, Maya reported. Whatever you're going to do it fast. Alexander moved between the long oak tables, remembering Sarah's words about hiding, modern secrets in ancient places. The Rose reading room's ceiling hadn't just captivated her with its beauty. She had seen it as the perfect metaphor, everything hidden in plain sight. He reached the north wall, detecting the almost invisible seam of the hidden door. But as he prepared to slip through, a familiar voice froze him in place. Hello, Alexander. He turned slowly. Elizabeth Crawford stood 3 tables away, but she wasn't alone. Next to her, wearing a simple blue dress and a cautious smile, was Sarah. We don't have much time, Sarah said softly, and we have so much to explain. The world seemed to narrow to a single point as Alexander stared at Sarah. She looked different, her hair shorter, her face thinner, but her eyes held the same determined intelligence he remembered. Behind him, he heard Cooper's quiet footsteps approaching. The Athena Group's teams are 2 minutes out, Elizabeth said calmly, as if discussing the weather. We need to move. Wait, Alexander said, his voice hoarse. Our son is safe, Sarah assured him, stepping closer, and exactly where he needs to be. The genetic markers, they're not just about evolution, Alexander, they're about protection. Maya's voice crackled through his earpiece. Guys, we've got a serious problem. The woman in the coffee shop, she just left, but not before leaving me a note. It says Marcus is alive and he's not on our side anymore. Sarah's expression tightened. We know. That's why we had to act now. She reached for Alexander's hand, her touch sending electricity through his skin. The journal in the maintenance passage, it contains everything. The full scope of what Marcus and the Athena Group are planning, but more importantly, it explains what makes our son truly special. The genetic modifications are only part of it, Elizabeth interrupted. Sarah didn't just create a way for humanity to evolve. She found a way to protect that evolution from those who would abuse it. The sound of rapid footsteps echoed from the corridor. Cooper moved to cover the nearest entrance while Sarah pulled Alexander toward the hidden door. The markers in our son's DNA, she explained quickly as she pressed a specific point on the wall, revealing the concealed passage. They're like a key. Any attempt to replicate or modify them triggers a failsafe. The genetic sequence literally rewrites itself, becoming useless to anyone trying to exploit it. A genetic firewall, Alexander realized. That's why they haven't just taken him. They need to understand how you did it. And they need both parents, Elizabeth added. The process requires genetic material from both mother and father to activate properly in the next generation. Marcus figured that out. That's why he switched sides. They slipped into the passage, Cooper following and closing the door behind them. The narrow space was lit by ancient emergency lights, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. Marcus isn't just working with them now, Sarah continued as they hurried along the passage. He's leading them. When he couldn't replicate my research, he decided to take a more direct approach. The owl tattoo. It's not just a symbol, it's a marker for his new version of the project. Maya's voice returned. Satellite feeds showing multiple vehicles converging on the library. These aren't just private security. They've got government plates. Athena has people everywhere, Elizabeth confirmed. CDC, FBI, NSA, anywhere they might need to cover up their experiments. They reached the old service elevator, its brass doors tarnished with age. Sarah pulled out a keycard that looked far too modern for the antique mechanism, yet when she swiped it, the doors opened smoothly. "The journal explains everything," she said as they entered, "including why Marcus really disappeared and what he's planning." "But Alexander," she grabbed his arm, her eyes intense. "Once you read it, there's no going back. You'll become part of this fully and completely." "I already am," he replied. "The moment you left our son for me to find, you knew I would choose this path." Sarah's face softened. "I knew you would choose him. Choose us. That's why the genetic key works, because at our core we both choose protection over power." The elevator began to descend, but not to the ground floor. It went deeper, into sub-basements that shouldn't exist. "The library has secrets older than either of our projects," Elizabeth explained. "Secrets that will help us stay ahead of Marcus and his transformed Athena group." Cooper checked his phone. "Maya says the tactical teams are entering the building. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they figure out where we've gone." Sarah squeezed Alexander's hand. "Are you ready to learn the full truth? About our son, about Marcus, about what we're really fighting for?" The elevator continued its descent into the unknown depths beneath New York's streets. Alexander thought of his son, safely hidden away, carrying within him both humanity's potential and its protection. He thought of Marcus, transformed from ally to enemy, and of all the forces gathering against them. "I'm ready," he said, "for all of it." The elevator slowed, then stopped. The doors opened to reveal a vast underground chamber filled with advanced medical equipment, computer servers, and walls of genetic research that had never seen the light of day. Sarah stepped out first, turning back to offer her hand. "Then welcome," she said, "to where it all began, and where we'll make our stand." The underground facility beneath the library was a stark contrast to the classical architecture above. Sleek metal walls housed state-of-the-art equipment, while rows of servers hummed with barely contained power. Sarah led them through the maze-like complex with practiced familiarity. "This facility was built during World War II," Elizabeth explained, as they walked. "Originally designed as a secure archive for valuable documents in case of attack. Over the decades, it evolved into something more. A backup site," Sarah added, placing her palm on a biometric scanner. A hidden door slid open silently, in case everything else failed. But it became our primary base when we discovered what Marcus was really planning. The new room was smaller but even more advanced. Holographic displays showed genetic sequences floating in the air, while one entire wall was dedicated to global tracking systems. "Maya," Cooper spoke, into his comm unit. "Are you seeing this?" "Crystal clear," Maya's voice responded. "The facility's systems just granted me access. This is incredible. They've been monitoring everything. Financial transactions, genetic research facilities, even military installations." Sarah gestured to the central display. "Because everything is connected. Marcus didn't just join the Athena group, he's transformed it. The owl tattoo isn't just for identification, it's a marker for his new subjects." The display shifted, showing detailed medical files. Alexander's blood ran cold as he saw images of people with the owl tattoo, their genetic structures clearly altered. "He's not just trying to replicate my research," Sarah continued, her voice tight with controlled anger. "He's forcing evolution through direct genetic manipulation. The tattoo ink contains programmable nanobots that rewrite DNA in real time, but the changes are unstable, causing devastating side effects." "The subjects become enhanced," Elizabeth added, "but at a terrible cost. They lose their autonomy, becoming completely loyal to Marcus and his vision, and eventually, their modified DNA breaks down entirely." Alexander studied the medical reports, his business experience helping him see the bigger picture. He's creating an army, not just of enhanced humans, but of perfectly obedient soldiers. "Exactly," Sarah confirmed, "but he needs our son's genetic key to stabilize the process. The natural evolution pathway I discovered is the only way to make the changes permanent without destroying the subject's free will. Cooper, who had been watching the security feeds, spoke up. They're scanning the library level by level. Won't take them long to figure out there's a sub-basement. Let them come, Elizabeth said calmly. This facility has defenses they can't imagine, but we should move to the core chamber. Sarah nodded, leading them through another hidden door. As they walked, Alexander caught her hand. Our son, he said softly. You knew I would protect him. That's why you left him for me to find. She squeezed his hand, tears gathering in her eyes. I knew you would protect him, yes. But more than that, I knew you would understand. The genetic key isn't just about DNA. It's about choice. It only works for parents who would sacrifice everything to protect their child's right to choose their own path. The core chamber was a perfect circle, its walls lined with what looked like liquid metal. In the center stood a single pedestal supporting an old leather journal, the real one this time. Everything Marcus needs to know is in there, Sarah said, gesturing to the journal. But he can't access it. The pages are encoded with the same principle as our son's DNA. They can only be read by someone who values protection over power. Maya's voice crackled through their comms. Multiple teams converging on your location. They've found the elevator shaft. 2 minutes max. Elizabeth moved to a control panel, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. Activating primary defenses. Sarah, it's time. Sarah took the journal and held it out to Alexander. Once you read this, you'll understand everything. Why Marcus changed, what he's really planning, and why our son represents humanity's best hope. But Alexander, she met his eyes intently. Reading it will also make you a target. Forever. The facility's lights dimmed as defense systems engaged. Above them, they could hear the faint sounds of tactical teams breaching the upper levels. Alexander looked at the journal, then at Sarah, seeing in her face the same brilliant determination that had first drawn him to her. Everything changes now, she whispered. Alexander reached for the journal, his decision already made. Everything changed the moment I found our son. I choose him. I choose us. I choose protection over power. As his fingers touched the leather binding, the liquid metal walls began to pulse with soft blue light. Sarah smiled, a mixture of relief and love, transforming her face. Then let me show you, she said, opening the journal, what Marcus was really afraid of, why he ran, why he changed, and what we're really fighting to protect. The first page began to reveal its secrets as the sound of breach charges echoed through the facility. Their time was running out, but the truth was finally within reach. The journal's pages seemed to shimmer as they turned, revealing text that appeared only under Alexander's touch. Sarah stood close, her presence both comforting and electric as the facility's defenses hummed around them. Marcus discovered something during the Tech Solutions merger, Sarah explained as Alexander read. Something that terrified him. The Athena Group wasn't just a research organization, it was part of a larger plan spanning centuries. The journal detailed a hidden history. Throughout time, certain individuals had manifested unprecedented abilities, intellectual leaps, physical capabilities, intuitive insights that changed the course of history. The Athena Group had been tracking these manifestations, studying them, trying to understand their source. They called it the Prometheus Protocol, Elizabeth added, monitoring the defense systems. The theory that humanity was capable of directed evolution, but only under specific conditions. Alexander turned a page and holographic images sprang to life above the journal. Complex genetic structures rotated in the air, highlighting patterns that seemed to defy conventional science. Marcus found evidence that these evolutionary jumps weren't random, Sarah continued. They followed a pattern appearing in bloodlines, where both parents shared a specific genetic marker, a marker that until now couldn't be artificially replicated. Until you found a way, Alexander said, understanding dawning. Sarah nodded. But not the way they wanted. The Athena Group wanted to force the evolution, control it, create enhanced humans who would be bound to their will. I discovered how to nurture the natural process, letting each generation choose its own path. Maya's voice cut through their concentration. Multiple breach attempts on the upper doors. The defenses are holding, but they're adapting their approach. Cooper moved to cover the main entrance, while Elizabeth activated additional security measures. The liquid metal walls pulsed faster, patterns of light racing across their surface. Alexander continued reading, his heart racing as he absorbed the implications. Marcus, he tried to force the process on himself? Yes, Sarah confirmed grimly. When he couldn't replicate my research, he used an experimental version of his nanobot, technology on his own DNA. It worked partially. He gained enhanced abilities, but at a terrible cost. The forced evolution began breaking down his neural pathways, affecting his mind. The journal showed brain scans, revealing spreading patterns of degradation, but more troubling were the psychological evaluations that followed. He became obsessed with the idea of directed evolution, Elizabeth explained, convinced that humanity needed to be forced to change, to be controlled and guided by those he deemed worthy. The very thing the natural genetic key was designed to prevent. Our son carries the true key, Sarah said softly, the ability to evolve naturally, to pass that potential to future generations. But more importantly, he carries the failsafe I engineered, the genetic protection against forced manipulation. A massive impact shook the facility. Maya's voice returned, urgent now. They've breached the first security level, but something's wrong. The tactical teams, they're fighting each other. Some of them have the owl tattoo, some don't. Marcus's enhanced soldiers, Cooper growled. He's making his move. Alexander reached the journal's final pages, where Sarah's elegant handwriting gave way to urgent scrawls. The Venetian archives, he read. You split the failsafe protocol between 2 locations. Yes, Sarah confirmed. The library facility contains half of the protection sequence. The other half is hidden in Venice, in the same archives where Marcus first discovered the Prometheus protocol. We needed both halves separated to prevent anyone from altering or disabling the protection. Another impact rattled the chamber. The liquid metal walls began to shift, forming new patterns of defense. They're through the 2nd level, Maya reported. But you've got to see this. The enhanced soldiers, they're degrading. Their DNA is literally falling apart. Elizabeth's hands flew over the control panel. Marcus's process is unstable. The forced evolution is breaking down faster than he anticipated. He's desperate now. Which makes him more dangerous, Cooper added, checking his weapon. Sarah took Alexander's hands, her touch sending warmth through his entire body. Now you understand why our son had to be protected, why everything had to happen exactly this way. The journal isn't just a record. It's a key to activating the final phase of the protection protocol. The choice, Alexander said, remembering her words. Protection over power, free will over control. She smiled, tears in her eyes. You understand, just like I knew you would. The facility shuddered again, but this time the liquid metal walls responded differently. They began to glow with a soft golden light, patterns shifting to form complex geometric shapes. It's time, Elizabeth announced, reading the facility's data. The journal's information combined with your genetic resonance, it's completing the protection sequence. Sarah squeezed Alexander's hands tighter. Our son isn't just carrying the next step in human evolution. He's carrying the guarantee that it will happen naturally, freely, through choice rather than force. Every attempt to control or manipulate the process will fail. The chamber filled with golden light as the final sequence activated. Above them, through layers of concrete and steel, they could hear the sounds of combat fading. Maya, Cooper called out. You're not going to believe this, she responded, awe in her voice. The enhanced soldiers, their genetic modifications, are reversing. The owl tattoos are literally disappearing from their skin. Whatever you just activated, it's working. Sarah and Alexander stood together in the golden light, the journal completing its final revelation between them. Their son was safe, the protection protocol was active, and somewhere in the chaos above, Marcus was learning that some power can't be taken. It can only be earned, one choice at a time. The golden light pulsing through the chamber began to stabilize, forming intricate patterns that seemed to respond to Alexander and Sarah's presence. Elizabeth worked rapidly at the control panel, coordinating with Maya to track the effects spreading through the city. "The protection protocol is propagating faster than we anticipated," Elizabeth announced, studying the holographic displays. "Any enhanced soldier within a 5-mile radius is being affected. Their forced genetic modifications are unraveling." "Maya," Cooper called into his comm unit, "what's the situation upstairs?" "Chaos," she replied. "Most of Marcus's enhanced team is down, their systems shutting down as the modifications reverse. But hold on." They heard rapid typing. "New vehicles approaching, different insignias. These aren't Athena group forces." Sarah moved to another console, her fingers dancing across the interface. "Government response teams, real ones, not Athena plants. They've been monitoring the situation since the hospital." "Can they be trusted?" Alexander asked, still holding the journal. "Some of them," Elizabeth answered. "I've maintained contacts in certain agencies, people who've been helping us track Marcus's activities. They'll help secure the facility and contain the situation." The chamber's liquid metal walls rippled with new information, displaying real-time satellite feeds of the library and surrounding streets. They watched as tactical teams established a perimeter, while medical units treated the collapsed enhanced soldiers. "Sarah," Maya's voice returned, "urgent now. I'm detecting a targeted data breach. Someone's trying to access the facilities." "Mainframe, the signature. It matches Marcus's encryption." Sarah's expression hardened. "He's trying to salvage what he can." "Maya, initiate protocol Omega-7. "What's Omega-7? Alexander asked, moving to stand beside her. "A virus," she explained, her eyes fixed on the screens, "but not a destructive one. It's like the genetic failsafe in digital form. Any system that tries to copy or steal our research gets infected. The data appears intact, but it's subtly altered, making any attempt to replicate the process impossible." Cooper, still watching the entrance, spoke up. "We've got movement in the access corridor. Multiple signatures. Friendlies," Elizabeth confirmed, checking her security feeds. "My contacts, but we need to move quickly. Marcus won't stay in retreat for long." Sarah turned to Alexander, her face both determined and worried. "There's one more thing we need to do. The journal contains instructions for completing the protection sequence, but it requires both parents. We need to get to our son." "The boathouse isn't safe anymore," Cooper warned. "If Marcus is desperate enough to attack a government facility, he won't hesitate to strike there." "We're not taking him to the boathouse," Sarah said, pressing her palm to a section of wall that immediately revealed a hidden corridor. "There's another facility, one even Marcus doesn't know about. A place where we can complete the sequence safely." Alexander felt the weight of the journal in his hands, its pages still shimmering with revealed secrets. "How long do we have?" "The reversal effect on the enhanced soldiers is temporary," Elizabeth explained, initiating what looked like shutdown sequences on various systems. "Their modifications will start rebuilding within hours. Marcus will have learned from this. Setback, he'll adapt the process. Which means we have a window," Sarah added, "a chance to complete the protection sequence before he can field another enhanced team, but we have to move now." The sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the main corridor. Elizabeth's government contacts were getting closer. "Maya," Cooper called out, "what's your status?" "Mobile and clear," she replied. "I've got a secure vehicle waiting 2 blocks away, but you should know, I'm picking up chatter on emergency channels. Multiple reports of people with owl tattoos collapsing across the city. It's not just the tactical team. Everyone Marcus enhanced is being affected." Sarah's eyes widened. "He's been expanding the program, using civilians as test subjects." "All the more reason to finish this," Alexander said firmly. "How do we get to the other facility?" Sarah led them to the hidden corridor, which sloped gently downward. "There's an old maintenance tunnel network under the city. Most of them were abandoned decades ago, but some of us have been maintaining certain routes. We can use them to reach a secure location in Brooklyn." Elizabeth handed them each a small device. Quantum encryption communicators, completely secure. I'll coordinate with my contacts. Make sure you have a clear path. Maya can monitor your route from above. The facility's lights flickered as another system engaged. Through the main entrance, they could hear voices approaching. Official. Voices calling out identification codes. Go, Elizabeth urged them. I'll handle the authorities. Cooper? The detective checked his weapon one last time. I'll take point. Maya, you're our eyes. Always, she responded confidently. Sarah squeezed Alexander's hand as they prepared to enter the tunnel. Ready to finish what we started. He looked at her, seeing not just the brilliant scientist who had unraveled humanity's genetic future, but the mother who had risked everything to protect their child's right to choose his own path. Ready, he said firmly. Behind them, the facility's golden light began to fade as its systems powered down. But ahead in the darkness of the maintenance tunnel, a different kind of light beckoned. The light of hope, of natural evolution, of humanity's future, unfolding one free choice at a time. Cooper took the lead, and they stepped into the tunnel, leaving behind a facility that had just changed the course of human history. Above them, Marcus's enhanced soldiers continued to revert to normal, their owl tattoos fading like half-remembered dreams. And somewhere in Brooklyn, their son waited, carrying within him the key to humanity's next great leap forward. A leap that would be taken not through force, but through choice. The maintenance tunnels beneath New York City were a maze of darkness and echoes, their footsteps bouncing off century-old brick walls. Cooper led the way, guided by Maya's precise directions through their quantum communicators. Sarah walked beside Alexander, their hands occasionally brushing in the dim light of emergency LED strips that marked their path. These tunnels, Alexander said softly, ducking under a low-hanging pipe, they're not on any official maps. Sarah shook her head. They were part of an abandoned subway expansion project from the 1920s. When the city changed the plans, these sections were sealed off. Elizabeth's group has been maintaining them as emergency routes for decades. Movement on the street level, Maya's voice crackled through their comms. 3 SUVs with blacked-out windows just left the library area, heading east. Marcus, Cooper guessed, checking another intersection before waving them forward. He's trying to predict our route. Sarah consulted a small holographic display, built into her communicator. We're approaching the first checkpoint. Maya, how's the surface looking at Point Charlie? Clear for now, but wait. They heard rapid typing. Getting some strange readings. The protection protocol you activated, it's having unexpected effects. The reversal of the genetic modifications isn't just affecting Marcus's soldiers, it's spreading through the city's water system. Alexander stopped walking. The water system? The nanobots in the owl tattoos, Sarah explained, her expression grim. Marcus must have been using the city's water supply to distribute a baseline version of his enhancement formula, preparing the population for future modifications. She touched a panel on the tunnel wall, revealing ancient machinery still humming with power. But now the protection protocol is turning that distribution network against him. How many people could be affected? Cooper asked. Thousands, maybe more. Maya's voice was tight with concern. I'm seeing reports of people checking into emergency rooms across the city. Nothing serious, mild fever, disorientation, but they all have one thing in common, or... Let me guess, Cooper interrupted. Owl tattoos. Exactly. The tattoos are fading and, with them, whatever baseline enhancements Marcus managed to introduce into their systems. They reached a junction where 3 tunnels converged. Sarah led them down the center path, which sloped deeper underground. The protection protocol isn't just reversing the modifications, she explained as they walked. It's vaccinating people against future attempts. Anyone affected by this reversal will be immune to Marcus's enhancement techniques. Alexander understood the implications. You're not just undoing his work, you're making it impossible for him to try again. That's why he's desperate to find our son, Sarah confirmed. The genetic key he carries isn't just about natural evolution. It's the blueprint for this immunity. Every person affected by the reversal today will pass that immunity to their children. Their communicators crackled with static as they descended deeper. Maya's voice came through in broken segments. "Another team, north side of... Be careful." Cooper raised his hand, signaling them to stop. In the distance, they could hear the faint echo of other footsteps. "We're not alone down here," he whispered, drawing his weapon. Sarah pressed her palm against another hidden panel, and a section of wall slid aside to reveal a narrow maintenance shaft. "This way." "It's a tight fit, but it'll take us under the East River. We'll surface closer to the Brooklyn facility." They squeezed into the shaft, just as voices echoed down the main tunnel, voices accompanied by the sound of scanning equipment. Marcus's people, Alexander whispered as they crawled through the cramped space. "Some of them," Sarah replied softly. "But they're not enhanced anymore. The protection protocol saw to that. They're operating on pure desperation now." The shaft seemed to go on forever, the air growing thicker as they progressed. Alexander's world narrowed to the rhythm of movement, the sound of breathing, and the occasional brush of Sarah's hand against his in the darkness. Finally, the shaft opened into a larger chamber. Ancient machinery filled the space, its purpose long forgotten, but Sarah moved confidently to a modern panel hidden among the ruins. "Maya," she called softly into her communicator. "Do you copy?" The response was clearer now. "Reading you. You're almost there. The Brooklyn facility is showing active but secure. No hostile activity detected in the immediate area." "What about Marcus?" Cooper asked, helping Alexander out of the shaft. "His vehicles are still moving, but they're headed toward the waterfront. I think he's figured out you're going under the river." Sarah's fingers flew over the hidden panel's interface. "It doesn't matter. By the time he reaches us, it'll be too late. Once we complete the protection sequence with our son, the immunity effect will be permanent. No one will ever be able, say, to use forced genetic modification again." The chamber suddenly hummed with power, and sections of the floor began to move, revealing a sleek elevator platform. "This will take us directly to the Brooklyn facility," Sarah explained, "where our son is waiting, where we can finish what we started." They stepped onto the platform, and Alexander felt Sarah's hand slip into his. Above them, Marcus and his remaining forces raced through the city, trying to prevent what was already happening, humanity's first step toward true, chosen evolution. The platform began to rise, carrying them toward their son and the completion of a protocol that would change the world not through force, but through the power of choice. In his pocket, the journal pulsed warmly, its pages still shimmering with the truth that had started everything. Some power can't be taken, only earned, one free choice at a time. The Brooklyn facility was nothing like its Manhattan counterpart. Instead of stark metal and advanced technology, they emerged into what looked like an abandoned cathedral. Stained glass windows filtered the afternoon light into rainbow patterns across stone floors, while Gothic arches soared overhead. "An old church?" Alexander asked, taking in the transformed space. "Perfect cover," Sarah explained, leading them. Past rows of pews that concealed sophisticated monitoring equipment. Who would look for cutting-edge genetic research in a defunct house of worship? The stone walls naturally shield certain frequencies, and the basement levels were ideal for converting into labs. Maya's voice came through their communicators. Clearer now. "Marcus's teams have split up, 3 groups converging on different points in Brooklyn. They're searching grid by grid." "Let them search," Sarah said, approaching the altar. She pressed a specific point on an ornate wooden panel, and the entire structure slid silently aside, revealing a staircase. "They won't find this place until we want them to." Cooper took up a position near the entrance while Alexander and Sarah descended. The stairs led to a chamber that perfectly balanced the old and new. Ancient stone walls housed state-of-the-art medical equipment, while centuries-old religious symbols shared space with holographic displays. And there in the center of it all was their son, sleeping peacefully in a specialized monitoring pod under the watchful eye of Dr. Chen, the same pediatrician from the hospital. "He's been perfect," Dr. Chen reported, smiling as Sarah rushed to the pod. "All readings are stable, and the genetic markers are actually strengthening on their own. Alexander joined them, placing his hand on the pod's clear surface. "You knew," he said to Dr. Chen, "at the hospital. You were part of this all along." She nodded. "I've been working with Sarah for years, monitoring genetic patterns in the general population. When she discovered she was pregnant, I helped her track the baby's development. The markers we saw, they were beyond anything we'd documented before." Sarah opened the pod, gently lifting their son. The baby stirred but didn't wake, instinctively curling into his mother's embrace. "The protection sequence is already active in him," she explained softly. "What we need to do now is amplify it, make it strong enough to spread through the entire population." "Like a beneficial virus," Dr. Chen added, checking readings on nearby monitors. "But one that only affects those with Marcus's forced modifications, reverting them to their natural state and preventing future manipulation." Alexander touched his son's tiny hand, marveling at how something so small could hold such importance. "What do we need to do?" Sarah nodded toward a circular platform surrounded by sophisticated scanning equipment. "The journal contains the final activation sequence. With both parents present, holding him, the protection protocol will reach its full potential. The cathedral's architecture will actually help. The stone walls create a natural resonance chamber that will amplify the effect." Their communicators crackled. "Multiple vehicles approaching," Maya warned, "half a mile out and closing." "Marcus is with them. I've got visual confirmation." "How long do we need?" Cooper called down from the top of the stairs. 10 minutes, Sarah replied, moving toward the platform. "Maybe less." "You've got 5, Cooper said grimly. "They're moving faster than expected." Alexander took his position on the platform, standing close to Sarah and their son. Dr. Chen initiated the scanning sequence while Sarah carefully opened the journal to its final pages. "The words have to be spoken by both parents," she explained. "It's not just about the genetic material. It's about conscious choice. The protection protocol activates fully only when there's willing participation from both sides." Above them, they heard Cooper moving furniture, creating barriers. Maya's voice returned. "They've found the church. 2 teams approaching on foot, one covering the rear exit." The scanning equipment hummed to life, surrounding them in a soft blue glow. Sarah held out the journal so they could both see the final sequence. Words in an ancient language neither of them recognized, but which seemed to resonate with something deep in their DNA. "Together," Sarah whispered, and they began to read. The E. Words felt strange yet familiar on Alexander's tongue, as if they were awakening something that had always been there, waiting. Their son stirred in Sarah's arms, his eyes opening to reveal that same extraordinary awareness Alexander had noticed before. The blue glow intensified, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with building energy. Through their communicators, they could hear the sounds of Marcus's teams breaching the church above. "Keep reading," Dr. Chen urged, watching the monitors with growing excitement. "The resonance is building exponentially. The protection sequence is propagating faster than we projected." Cooper's voice cut through. "They're inside the church, multiple hostiles. Marcus is with them, and Alexander, he looks desperate." Sarah's free hand found Alexander's, squeezing tight as they continued reading. The journal's pages were glowing, now the same shimmering gold they had seen in the Manhattan facility. Their son reached up, touching both their faces with tiny fingers, and in that moment, everything changed. The blue glow erupted into brilliant gold, spreading outward in waves that passed through walls and barriers as if they didn't exist. Above them, they heard gasps and shouts of surprise. Through their communicators, Maya reported in awe. The effect it's spreading across the entire city. Every enhanced soldier, every person with an owl tattoo, they're all being affected at once. "It's working," Dr. Chen confirmed, her eyes. Why does she watch the data stream across her monitors? "The protection sequence is encoding itself into the city's population. Anyone who was part of Marcus's program is being restored to their natural state." The sound of footsteps on the stairs. Marcus had found them. But as he appeared in the doorway, they could see his owl tattoo already. Fading, his enhanced strength visibly draining away. "No," he gasped, staggering forward. "You don't understand what you're doing. The world needs guidance, needs control. The world needs choice," Sarah said firmly, holding their son close as the golden light continued to pulse outward. "Real evolution comes from freedom, not force." The sequence was almost complete. Through their joined hands, Alexander could feel the power of what they had created. Not a weapon or a tool of control, but a shield, a protection for humanity's right to choose its own path forward. Marcus fell to his knees, his carefully engineered enhancements unraveling strand by strand. Behind him, his soldiers were experiencing the same transformation, their forced evolution giving way to natural potential. The final words of the sequence hung in the air like chimes, and their son laughed, a sound of pure joy that seemed to carry the promise of a future where evolution would come not through manipulation and control, but through choice, love, and the natural unfolding of human potential. The golden light began to fade, leaving behind an atmosphere charged with possibility. Marcus remained on his knees, his face a mask of disbelief as he stared at his hands. Hands that now held only normal human strength. "What have you done?" he whispered, his voice stripped of its enhanced resonance. "We've restored the natural order," Sarah replied, cradling their still laughing son. "Every person you enhanced, every unwitting subject you prepared through the water supply, they're all returning to their true selves, and they'll be immune to any future attempts at forced evolution." Dr. Chen's monitors continued to stream data, showing the protection sequence spreading beyond Brooklyn, beyond New York, following the paths Marcus's program had already established. "The reversal is permanent," she confirmed, studying the readings. "And it's not just affecting current subjects. The immunity is being coded into their DNA, passing to future generations. No one will ever be able to force genetic manipulation on an unwilling subject again." Cooper came down the stairs, his weapon trained on Marcus. "His teams are standing down. Most of them seem relieved, actually, like they're waking up from a long nightmare." Maya's voice added through their communicators, similar reports coming in from across the city. "Emergency rooms are overwhelmed with people whose owl tattoos are fading, but there's no panic, no violence. It's like they're all choosing to let go." Alexander moved closer to Marcus, seeing not the desperate man who had tried to control humanity's evolution, but the brilliant scientist he had once been. "You were right about one thing," Alexander said softly. "Humanity is ready for the next step. But it has to be a step we choose to take together, not one forced upon us." Marcus looked up, tears streaming down his face. I thought I could make it happen faster, better. I thought control was the answer." "Control is never the answer," Sarah said, her voice gentle despite everything Marcus had done. "Real evolution comes from choice, from the natural interaction of free will and potential. Our son proves that." As if understanding his role in this moment, the baby reached toward Marcus with tiny fingers. The gesture held no judgment, no condemnation, only the simple acceptance that children offer so freely. "The protection sequence," Dr. Chen explained, still monitoring its spread, "it doesn't just prevent forced evolution, it creates a foundation for natural growth. Each generation will have the potential to advance, to develop new capabilities, but only through their own choices and effort." Cooper's communicator crackled with Elizabeth's voice. "Government response teams are securing the area. The right ones this time. And Alexander, your company's board is meeting in emergency session. The Athena Group's financial network is unraveling as fast as their genetic modifications." Marcus slumped further, decades of work dissolving around him. "Everything I built can be rebuilt," Alexander finished, "but this time, in service of natural evolution, not controlled manipulation. Your brilliance doesn't have to be lost, Marcus, just redirected." Sarah stepped forward, their son still reaching toward his former adversary. "The choice is yours now, just like it should have been all along. Help us understand the natural patterns of evolution. Help us support humanity's growth without trying to control it." Through their communicators, they could hear the sounds of the city returning to normal, Maya's updates, painted a picture of a population awakening to new possibilities, not through forced enhancement, but through the recognition of their own natural potential. Dr. Chen's monitors showed the protection sequence achieving full integration, its coding becoming part of humanity's collective genetic heritage. Future generations would carry not just the immunity to forced evolution, but the potential for natural advancement. "The threshold has been reached," she announced. "The sequence is self-sustaining now. Even if someone managed to create new enhancement techniques, they wouldn't work," Sarah finished. "Not unless every subject actively chose to participate. Free will is now coded into the very process of human evolution." Alexander looked at his son, seeing in those remarkable eyes the future they had helped secure, a future where advancement would come through choice, understanding, and the natural unfolding of human potential. The baby laughed again, a sound that seemed to carry both joy and promise. In that moment, as golden light lingered in the air and the city pulsed with renewed natural energy, they all understood. Humanity's next great leap forward would not be forced or controlled, but chosen, one free decision at a time. The following days unfolded in a whirlwind of activity. The Brooklyn Cathedral, its secret now revealed, became a temporary command center for managing the global impact of the protection sequence. Sarah and Dr. Chen worked tirelessly with international medical teams, helping them understand and monitor the changes rippling through the population. Alexander stood at one of the restored stained glass windows, watching the sunrise paint the city in fresh colors. Behind him, the former sanctuary hummed with purposeful energy as researchers and medical professionals coordinated their efforts. "The latest reports are encouraging," Elizabeth said, joining him at the window. "The protection sequence has reached every corner of Marcus's network. Even his most remote operations are shutting down as their enhanced subjects return to normal." "And the subjects themselves?" "Adapting remarkably well. The natural genetic restoration seems to come with a kind of peace, as if their bodies and minds are grateful to return to their authentic state." Maya's voice called from her workstation. "Alexander, you should see this." She pulled up multiple news feeds on the main display. Stock markets worldwide are responding to the Athena Group's collapse. But look at the pattern. The financial data showed something unexpected. Instead of chaos, the markets were stabilizing around new configurations. Companies previously controlled by the Athena Group were reorganizing under transparent leadership. "The financial world is healing itself," Cooper observed, studying the numbers. "Just like the enhanced subjects." Sarah approached, their son sleeping peacefully in her arms. "It makes sense. The protection sequence doesn't just affect biology, it restores natural patterns, including economic ones." Dr. Chen's monitors beeped with incoming data. "The genetic markers in the general population are fascinating," she reported. "Everyone affected by Marcus's program isn't just returning to normal, they're showing increased potential for natural evolution. As if the experience of being enhanced has awakened something dormant in their DNA." "Not awakened," Sarah corrected gently. "Freed. The potential was always there. Marcus's interference just showed us where to look for it." Alexander touched his son's tiny hand, marveling at how someone so small could catalyze such massive change. "And now?" "Now we help humanity understand its own potential," Sarah said, "not through force or manipulation, but through knowledge and choice." The cathedral's main doors opened, admitting Marcus. He looked different now, humbled but also somehow lighter. The burden of his obsession had lifted, leaving behind the scientist he'd been before power corrupted his vision. "The key. Venice archives are secure," he reported. "My former associates tried to access them, but the protection sequence reached there first. Everything I built, it's over." "Not over," Sarah said firmly. "Transformed. Your research doesn't have to end, Marcus. Just change." "Direction." He looked at her with tired eyes. "You want me to help after everything I did?" "We want you to remember who you were," Alexander replied. "The scientist who first discovered humanity's hidden potential before you tried to control it." Elizabeth stepped forward. My contacts in the government are offering amnesty in exchange for your help understanding the natural evolution process. No more forced enhancements, no more control, just pure research. Marcus's gaze fell on the sleeping baby. He's remarkable. Even without enhancements, his natural potential. I've never seen anything like it. Because he represents true evolution, Dr. Chen explained, the next step humanity will take when it's ready. Not forced, not controlled, but chosen. The morning light strengthened, streaming through the stained glass in brilliant patterns. Outside, the city was awakening to a new reality, one where every person's potential would unfold naturally, guided by their own choices. Maya's screens showed the protection sequence continuing its work, not just reversing Marcus's modifications, but laying the groundwork for humanity's natural advancement. Each person affected became a carrier of this new potential, passing it to future generations. We'll need to establish monitoring protocols, Sarah said, her scientific mind already working on next steps. Help people understand the changes they might experience as natural evolution takes its course, and protect them from anyone else who might try to force the process, Cooper added. Alexander watched his son stir and wake, those extraordinary eyes taking in the world with unbridled curiosity. He'll never be alone in this, he realized. Every child born from now on will carry the same potential, the same freedom to choose their own path forward. Sarah smiled, seeing the same truth. That's the real gift of the protection sequence, not just preventing forced evolution, but ensuring that every future step humanity takes will be its own choice. The cathedral, once a place of hidden research and desperate plans, now felt more like its original purpose, a sanctuary. But not just for prayer or contemplation, a sanctuary for humanity's potential, protected and preserved for future generations to explore in their own time, in their own way. Through the stained glass, the morning sun continued to rise, painting the future in colors of hope and possibility. 1 month later, the cathedral had transformed again. The emergency command center had evolved into a research facility dedicated to understanding and supporting natural human evolution. The pews remained, but now they hosted scientists, researchers, and medical professionals sharing discoveries and insights. Alexander sat in his usual spot by the window, reviewing reports from around the world. Each day brought new data about how the protection sequence was affecting different populations, all pointing to the same conclusion. Humanity was beginning to explore its natural potential in ways no one had anticipated. The latest findings from Asia are fascinating, Dr. Chen said, joining him with a tablet full of data. Children born to parents affected by the sequence are showing remarkable developmental patterns, not enhanced or modified, just optimized, as if their DNA knows exactly how to express their natural potential. Sarah looked up from her workstation, where she had been analyzing genetic samples. It's like watching evolution in real time, but completely natural. Each child born carries the potential for advancement, but their development follows their own unique path. Their son, now growing stronger every day, played contentedly in a specially designed observation area. Other children were there too, babies born to former enhanced subjects, all showing similar signs of natural optimization. The financial reconstruction is proceeding better than expected, Maya called from her station. She had officially joined their team, her technical expertise proving invaluable. The markets have found a new equilibrium. It's like the whole system is healing itself, becoming more resistant to manipulation. Cooper, who had transitioned from detective to security director for the new facility, entered with Elizabeth. The last of Marcus's former network has been dismantled, he reported. Those who tried to maintain the enhancement program found their efforts automatically reversing. The protection sequence isn't just passive, it actively prevents any attempt at forced evolution. Speaking of Marcus, Elizabeth added, his work with our research team is showing promise. He's finally understanding the difference between controlling evolution and supporting it. As if on cue, Marcus emerged from one of the research labs, his face animated with genuine excitement. "You need to see this," he said, holding up a tablet. "We've identified the mechanism that allows the protection sequence to distinguish between natural and forced genetic changes." It's brilliant in its simplicity. Sarah joined them, examining the data. "The sequence doesn't just block modifications," she observed. "It actually enhances the body's natural ability to optimize its own genetic expression." "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "It's not fighting against enhancement. It's supporting the body's natural drive to evolve, but only when that evolution comes from within, not from external force." Alexander watched their son playing, seeing in his natural movements and curious expressions the future they had helped secure. Other parents visited the facility daily, bringing their children for observation and support, all part of humanity's first steps toward understanding its own evolutionary potential. "We've received requests from medical centers worldwide," Dr. Chen reported, scrolling through her messages. "They want to establish satellite facilities, create a network for monitoring and supporting natural evolution." "As long as the research remains transparent," Elizabeth cautioned, "no more hidden labs or secret experiments. Everything in the open, where it can be properly understood and ethically managed." Sarah picked up their son, who reached immediately for the tablet displaying the genetic data, as if already drawn to understanding his own nature. "That's the key difference now," she said softly. "No more secrets, no more control. Just humanity, learning to understand and embrace its own potential." "And what potential it is," Marcus added, his former obsession with control replaced by genuine wonder. "The markers we're seeing in the new generation, they suggest capabilities we never imagined, not superhuman abilities, but natural optimizations that could help address everything from disease resistance to environmental adaptation." Maya's screens displayed a global map showing the spread of the protection sequence's effects. "It's like watching humanity upgrade itself," she observed, but naturally at its own pace. Alexander joined his family, watching their son point excitedly at the genetic displays. "He understands more than we think," he said. "They all do. This generation won't just inherit our potential for evolution, they'll inherit our commitment to keeping it natural and free." Through the stained glass windows, the afternoon sun cast ever-changing patterns across the cathedral floor. The light caught the children's play area, where the next generation of humanity was already beginning to explore its unprecedented potential. Sarah smiled, seeing in their son's eyes the same wonder that had driven her own research. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Every child born now carries not just the potential for natural evolution, but the inherited wisdom to let that evolution unfold in its own time, in its own way." The cathedral, once a place of secrets and forced change, had become something else entirely, a beacon of hope, a center of learning, and a guardian of humanity's right to choose its own path forward. In the laughter of children and the dedication of researchers, in the collaboration of former enemies and the wonder of new discoveries, the future was already unfolding, one natural step at a time. 6 months after the activation of the protection sequence, the Cathedral Research Center had become a global hub for studying natural human evolution. The Gothic architecture now housed cutting-edge laboratories, while the ancient stone walls contained the most advanced monitoring equipment available. Sarah stood in what had once been the choir loft, now converted into an observation deck overlooking the main research floor. Below, their son played with other children in a specially designed interactive learning space, each of them showing remarkable but naturally developing abilities. "The latest data is extraordinary," Dr. Chen said, joining her with a new batch of reports. "The children aren't just developing faster or stronger, they're developing more efficiently. It's as if their DNA has learned to express itself in the most optimal way possible." Alexander entered through the renovated side entrance, returning from a meeting with international research partners. "The European facilities are reporting similar findings," he announced. "Natural evolution is accelerating, but not in the way Marcus tried to force it. It's more elegant. That's because it's following the path it was always meant to take." Sarah replied, watching their son solve a complex puzzle designed for much older children. We didn't create this potential. We just removed the barriers preventing it from emerging naturally. Maya's voice came through the facility's communication system, her tone excited. You should see the global data patterns. The protection sequence isn't just preventing forced modifications anymore. It's actually helping people tap into their natural genetic potential. Down in the main research area, Marcus worked alongside a team of international scientists. His obsession, with control replaced by genuine curiosity about nature's own path. The optimization patterns are fascinating, he called up to them. Each child develops differently, but all of them are achieving their full natural potential without any external intervention. Elizabeth emerged from her office where she had been coordinating with government agencies worldwide. The official recognition is finally coming through, she announced. The UN is establishing a special commission to monitor and support natural evolution, complete transparency, ethical oversight, and most importantly, protection of individual choice. Cooper, who had been managing security for the growing network of research centers, joined them on the observation deck. The last remnants of the old Athena group have given up, he reported. They've seen the results. Natural evolution is outperforming anything they tried to force. Their son looked up at that moment, waving excitedly. He had just completed another puzzle, this one involving pattern recognition that would challenge most adults. But there was nothing forced or artificial about his achievement, just the natural expression of human potential, finally free to develop on its own. We're seeing similar accelerated development in adults who are affected by the protection sequence, Dr. Chen noted, reviewing her data. Not enhanced abilities, but optimized natural ones, better immune responses, more efficient cellular repair, improved cognitive processing, all emerging naturally as their bodies adjust to their restored genetic state. Sarah smiled, remembering the desperate race that had led them here. The sequence didn't just protect humanity from forced evolution, it showed us what we could achieve on our own. And what we can achieve together, Alexander added, watching. Their son now helping another child with a challenging task. The cooperation we're seeing, the way these children naturally support each other's development. It's like they instinctively understand that evolution works better as a collective journey. Maya's screens displayed a global map showing the spread of natural optimization patterns. It's not just isolated cases anymore. We're seeing the beginning of a genuine evolutionary leap, but one that's happening naturally, with each person and community moving at their own pace. Through the stained glass windows, the afternoon sun cast ever-changing patterns across the research floor. The light seemed to dance around the children as they played and learned, each of them unconsciously demonstrating what humanity could become when allowed to develop freely. The Venice archives have been completely integrated into our research network, Elizabeth reported. Everything Marcus discovered about the Prometheus protocol, combined with Sarah's work on natural evolution, it's creating a new understanding of human potential. An understanding that can never be weaponized or controlled, Cooper added, thanks to the protection sequence. Their son had moved to a new activity, one that involved complex three-dimensional problem solving. But what struck Sarah wasn't just his ability to work through the challenges, it was the joy with which he approached each new discovery. That's the real difference, she said softly. When evolution is natural, it doesn't just make us stronger or smarter. It makes us more fully ourselves, more human. Alexander wrapped an arm around her shoulders as they watched their son, now leading a small group of children in a collaborative exercise. Below them, researchers from around the world continued their work, studying and supporting humanity's natural emergence into its next stage of development. The cathedral, once a place of worship and later a hidden laboratory, had become something else entirely, a gateway to humanity's natural future, where every step forward would be chosen, not forced, and every new capability would emerge from the free expression of human potential. 1 year had passed since the night Alexander found a baby in the snow, and the world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Cathedral Research Center hosted a gathering of scientists, officials, and families from around the globe. all part of the growing network dedicated to understanding and supporting natural human evolution. Sarah stood at the podium in the main hall, presenting the latest findings to an audience that included representatives from major research institutions and international organizations. Behind her, screens displayed data that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Natural optimization continues to exceed our expectations, she explained, gesturing to the charts. But more importantly, it's happening in harmony with individual choice and cultural diversity. Each community, each person, is finding their own path forward. In the front row, their son sat between Alexander and Dr. Chen, now a toddler, whose natural development had helped set the baseline for understanding human potential. Around him, other children from the program played quietly, each displaying remarkable but uncontrived abilities. The protection sequence has evolved beyond its original purpose, Sarah continued. It's not just preventing forced modification, it's actively supporting humanity's natural drive to improve and adapt, but always within the bounds of individual choice and ethical consideration. Marcus, now a respected member of the research team, added his perspective. What we're seeing isn't just physical or cognitive enhancement, it's a holistic optimization of human capabilities, emerging naturally as each person's genetic potential unfolds. Maya's technical team had set up interactive displays around the hall, showing real-time data from research centers worldwide. The network effect is fascinating, she commented, pointing to global patterns. As more people tap into their natural potential, it seems to create an environment that supports others doing the same. Elizabeth stepped forward to address the security and ethical aspects. International protocols are now in place to protect this natural development. The UN Commission has established guidelines that ensure transparency while preserving individual autonomy. Cooper, overseeing security for the event, watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The need for protective measures had decreased as the world embraced the new paradigm of natural evolution. Fear and control had given way to understanding and support. Alexander joined Sarah at the podium for the next part of the presentation. What we're witnessing isn't just an advancement in human capability, he said. It's a transformation in how we view progress itself, not as something to be forced or controlled, but as a natural expression of human potential. Their son, listening with remarkable comprehension, smiled up at his parents. Around him, other children demonstrated their own unique developments, some showing exceptional emotional intelligence, others displaying remarkable problem-solving abilities, each following their own natural path. Dr. Chen shared the latest medical data. The optimization patterns are stable and self-regulating. We're seeing improved health outcomes, enhanced resilience, and increased adaptability, all emerging naturally without any external intervention. The cathedral's grand space, now a perfect blend of historical architecture and cutting-edge science, seemed to embody the bridge between human heritage and future potential. Sunlight streamed through the restored stained glass, creating patterns that danced across displays, showing humanity's next steps forward. But perhaps the most significant change, Sarah concluded, is in how we view ourselves and our future. The protection sequence didn't just safeguard our right to choose our own path, it showed us that our natural potential was greater than anything we tried to force. As the presentation ended, the gathered families and researchers broke into discussion groups, sharing experiences and insights. Children played while adults talked, each interaction demonstrating the natural way human potential could unfold when given freedom and support. Alexander watched their son join a group of children working on an advanced collaborative project. He's growing so fast, he mused to Sarah. They all are, but not because we're pushing them, because we're finally letting them develop as nature intended. With a little help from the protection sequence, she added, smiling, our gift to the future wasn't just protecting them from forced evolution, it was showing them how to trust their own natural development. The cathedral, once a hidden sanctuary for secret research, had become a beacon of hope and understanding. Its walls now witnessed not the forced manipulation of human potential, but its natural emergence through choice, cooperation, and the simple joy of discovery. Outside, the city continued its own evolution, adapting to the new possibilities emerging within its population. The protection sequence had spread worldwide, ensuring that every future step in human development would come not through force or control, but through the natural unfolding of potential, guided by choice and supported by understanding. As the day's events wound down, Sarah and Alexander stood with their son at the cathedral's great windows, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that seemed somehow richer than before. In the reflected light, they could see not just their own future, but humanity's, a future where evolution would always be a choice, never a command, and where each step forward would be taken in freedom, understanding, and natural grace. 2 years after the activation of the protection sequence, the cathedral had become more than just a research center. It was a symbol of humanity's new direction. The morning sun streamed through the restored stained glass windows, illuminating a space where science and human potential had found perfect harmony. Sarah and Alexander watched their son in the Advanced Learning Center, now a toddler, whose natural development continued to amaze and inspire. He was working with a group of children on a project that combined artistic expression with complex problem-solving, each child contributing their unique natural talents. The latest reports from the Asian research centers are remarkable, Dr. Chen said, approaching with her tablet. The second generation of children born after the protection sequence is showing even more refined optimization patterns. It's as if each generation builds naturally on the achievements of the last. Maya's voice came through the facility's advanced communication system. The global network is picking up similar trends everywhere. Natural evolution isn't just continuing, it's accelerating, but in a balanced, sustainable way. Marcus, who had fully embraced his new role in supporting natural development, emerged from his laboratory with excitement. "You need to see this," he called, gesturing them over to his research station. "We've identified the mechanism that allows optimized traits to be passed between generations without losing stability." The displays showed complex genetic sequences, but what caught everyone's attention was the natural elegance of the patterns. Unlike the forced modifications of the past, these changes flowed with an organic grace that spoke of nature's own wisdom. "It's beautiful," Elizabeth commented, joining them, "and completely different from what we tried to create artificially." The protection sequence didn't just prevent forced evolution, it revealed how natural evolution was supposed to work all along. Cooper, still heading security but now focusing more on information protection than physical threats, added his observation. "The most interesting part is how it's affecting society. Crime rates are dropping worldwide, not because of enhanced enforcement, but because people are naturally developing better empathy and understanding." Their son looked up from his project, his eyes bright with the kind of awareness that came not from artificial enhancement, but from natural optimization. He had been working on a collaborative art piece with other children, each contribution showing remarkable creativity and coordination. "The UN Commission is expanding its scope," Elizabeth announced, checking her communications. "They're not just monitoring natural evolution anymore. They're looking at how to restructure educational and social systems to better support these emerging capabilities." Sarah moved closer to the children's work area, observing the natural way they collaborated and solved problems. "That's the real breakthrough," she said softly. "Not just the physical or cognitive improvements, but how naturally they work together, support each other's growth." Alexander joined her, watching their son help another child with a particularly challenging aspect of their project. It's like they instinctively understand that evolution works better as a shared journey. Dr. Chen's monitors showed continuous streams of data from research centers worldwide. The optimization patterns we're seeing, they're not just making people stronger or smarter, they're making us more connected, more aware of our relationship with each other and our environment. Maya's screens displayed global trends that would have seemed impossible just 2 years ago. "Look at these patterns," she called out. "Environmental adaptation, improved immune responses, enhanced emotional intelligence, all emerging naturally, all supporting each other." Marcus, who had once sought to control evolution, now watched the children with wonder. We tried so hard to force this, he mused. But nature already had the perfect plan. We just needed to trust it, support it, let it unfold in its own way. The cathedral's grand space hummed with the energy of discovery and growth. In every corner, researchers and families worked together to understand and support the natural emergence of human potential. The old pews had been repurposed into comfortable learning spaces, while the ancient stone walls contained the most advanced monitoring equipment available. Sarah picked up their son as he ran to show them his completed project, a complex, three-dimensional structure that combined artistic beauty with mathematical precision. "This is what we were fighting for," she said to Alexander. "Not to make humanity better through force, but to let it become better through choice." Through the stained glass windows, the morning light painted ever-changing patterns across the floor. Each ray seemed to catch and illuminate the natural potential that had always existed within humanity, now finally free to emerge in its own time, in its own way. The protection sequence continued its quiet work throughout the global population, not just preventing forced modifications, but actively supporting the natural expression of human potential. In every community, in every culture, people were discovering capabilities they had always possessed, but never fully realized. As their son returned to his friends, already planning. Their next project, Sarah and Alexander saw in his natural enthusiasm and growth the future they had helped secure. A future where evolution would always be a choice, never a command, and where each step forward would be taken in freedom and natural grace. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the cathedral's windows as Sarah and Alexander reviewed the latest global reports in what had once been the sacristy. 3 years had passed since the night that changed everything, and the world had transformed in ways that exceeded even their most optimistic hopes. "The Venice archives have been completely digitized," Maya announced from her advanced workstation. "Every piece of historical data about natural evolution is now available to research centers worldwide. But the most interesting part isn't the old records, it's how they're comparing to current developments." Dr. Chen approached with a holographic display, showing parallel genetic sequences. "Look at this," she said, excitement clear in her voice. "The optimization patterns we're seeing now. They match ancient records of exceptional human development. It's as if we're not just evolving, we're remembering how to evolve naturally." Their son, now approaching his 4th birthday, was in the main hall with other children, engaged in activities that would have seemed impossible for their age just a few years ago. But there was nothing forced or artificial about their development. Each child progressed at their own pace, following their own interests and natural abilities. "The protection sequence has exceeded all our projections," Marcus said, joining them with his own set of data. "It's not just preventing forced modifications anymore. It's actually helping people unlock capabilities that were always there, just dormant." Elizabeth entered from her office, where she had been coordinating with international agencies. "The global impact is reaching beyond just physical and cognitive development," she reported. "We're seeing changes in social structures, education systems, even economic models, all adapting naturally to support human potential." Cooper, whose security role had evolved into something more like a cultural advisor, added his observations. "The most remarkable thing is how peaceful the transition has been. When people are free to develop naturally, they seem to naturally choose cooperation over conflict." Sarah watched their son leading a group activity, his natural ability to understand and connect with others, showing just one facet of optimized human potential. "We didn't create anything new," she reflected. "We just removed the barriers that were preventing our natural development." The cathedral's space had evolved along with its purpose. The ancient architecture now housed the most advanced research, equipment available, but somehow the combination felt right, as if the old and new were finding their own natural harmony. "The latest data from the educational centers is fascinating," Maya called out, pulling up new displays. "Children are not just learning faster, they're learning differently, more holistically. They naturally integrate multiple disciplines, finding connections we adults often miss." Alexander studied the reports, his business experience helping him see the broader implications. "It's affecting every sector of society, Companies are reorganizing around natural human potential rather than trying to force productivity. Healthcare is focusing on supporting natural healing abilities rather than just treating symptoms. Dr. Chen's monitors showed a continuous stream of optimization patterns from around the world. The diversity is incredible, she noted. Each community, each culture is expressing these capabilities in their own unique way. There's no single path, just natural development finding its own course in each context. Their son looked up at that moment, catching their attention. He had been working with other children on a project that combined art, science, and social cooperation in ways that seemed to emerge naturally from their collective creativity. "That's what makes this different from what we tried before," Marcus said softly, watching the children work. "We thought evolution had to be directed, controlled. But look at them. They naturally know which way to grow, how to develop their potential. They just needed the freedom to do it." Sarah moved to the main research station, where global data painted a picture of humanity's emerging future. "The protection sequence didn't just safeguard us from forced evolution," she explained. "It showed us that natural evolution is far more sophisticated than anything we tried to engineer." Through the stained glass windows, the afternoon light created patterns that seemed to dance with the children's movements. Each ray caught the natural energy and enthusiasm they brought to their discoveries, their development, their connections with each other. Elizabeth reviewed the latest reports from the UN Commission. "The international framework is adapting to support this natural development," she said. "Policies are being redesigned around the principle of supporting potential rather than trying to direct it." Cooper's security screens showed a world increasingly characterized by cooperation rather than conflict. "It's like watching humanity remember how to grow together," he observed. "The protection sequence didn't just prevent forced change, it reminded us of our natural capacity for positive development." Their son had moved to a new activity, naturally drawing other children into a collaborative effort that combined problem-solving with creative expression. His development, like that of all the children in the program, showed what was possible when human potential was allowed to unfold naturally. As the day's light began to fade, Sarah and Alexander stood together, watching the future they had helped create continue to unfold. The cathedral, once a place of forced change and hidden agendas, had become a symbol of humanity's natural potential, a potential that would continue to emerge, one free choice at a time, in perfect harmony with the rhythm of natural evolution. 5. Years had passed since the snowy night that changed everything. The cathedral, now the central hub of a worldwide network dedicated to understanding and supporting natural human evolution, buzzed with activity as preparations were made for a global symposium on optimized development. Sarah stood in what had once been the bell tower, now a state-of-the-art observation deck overlooking the city. Their son, now approaching his 6th birthday, was helping younger children in the learning center below, his natural abilities flourishing in ways that continued to amaze and inspire. "The long-term data is beyond anything we could have hoped for," Dr. Chen said, joining her with the latest research compilations. "The protection sequence hasn't just prevented forced evolution, it's revealed patterns of natural development that we never knew existed." Alexander emerged from a virtual conference with international partners, his face bright with excitement. "The European centers are reporting breakthrough insights into how optimized traits naturally pass between generations. It's not just genetic, it's social, environmental, holistic." Maya's voice came through the facility's advanced communication system, which now connected research centers across the globe. "You should see the global patterns we're tracking. Natural optimization isn't just continuing, it's creating self-sustaining cycles of positive development." Marcus, who had become one of their most dedicated researchers, approached with new findings. "Look at these neural patterns," he said, displaying complex holographic images. "The children aren't just developing enhanced capabilities, they're discovering entirely new ways of processing information and connecting with each other." Elizabeth, coordinating with the expanded UN Commission, added her perspective. "The international framework has completely transformed. Countries aren't competing to enhance their populations anymore. They're collaborating to support natural development in all communities. Their son looked up from his activity, catching Sarah's eye with a smile that carried wisdom far beyond his years. Around him, other children engaged in complex collaborative projects that seamlessly blended cognitive development with emotional intelligence and social awareness. The most remarkable aspect, Cooper observed from his security station, is how this has affected global stability. When people are free to develop naturally, they naturally choose cooperation over conflict. We're seeing the lowest rates of violence in recorded history. Dr. Chen's monitors displayed continuous streams of optimization data from around the world. Each community expresses these developments differently, she noted. The protection sequence doesn't standardize human potential. It allows it to flourish in uniquely cultural ways. Through the restored stained glass windows, sunlight painted ever-changing patterns across the learning spaces. Children from diverse backgrounds worked together on projects that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago, their natural abilities complementing and enhancing each other. The Venice archives have yielded another fascinating discovery, Meyer announced, pulling up ancient records alongside current data. Historical accounts of exceptional human development match exactly with what we're seeing now. It's as if we're not evolving into something new, but remembering something we always were. Sarah watched as their son helped a younger child work through a complex problem, his approach showing not just advanced cognitive abilities, but deep emotional intelligence and natural leadership. "This is what we were really fighting for," she said softly. "Not just to protect humanity from forced evolution, but to show what's possible when we trust our natural development." Alexander joined her at the observation window, watching the city spread out before them, a city that, like the rest of the world, was adapting to support humanity's natural potential rather than trying to force its development. The protection sequence was just the beginning, he reflected. The real change came when people realized they didn't need external enhancement to achieve extraordinary things. They just needed the freedom to develop naturally. Below them, the cathedral's main hall had filled with researchers, educators, and families from around the world, all gathered to share insights and celebrate the continuing unfolding of human potential. The ancient space, with its soaring arches and sacred geometry, seemed to amplify the sense of natural harmony that now characterized human development. Their son had moved to a new group activity, naturally taking on a role that supported and encouraged others while continuing his own development. His growth, like that of all children now, followed no predetermined path, but instead emerged from the natural interaction of potential and choice. As the day progressed, Sarah and Alexander stood together, watching the future they had helped secure continue to unfold. The cathedral, once a place of forced changes and hidden agendas, had become a symbol of humanity's natural potential, a potential that would continue to emerge, one free choice at a time, in perfect harmony with the rhythm of natural evolution. On the eve of the Global Symposium's closing ceremony, the cathedral glowed with a warm light that seemed to pulse with the collective energy of human potential. 10 years had passed since a baby was found in the snow, carrying within him the key to humanity's natural evolution. Now that same child stood with his parents in the Bell Tower Observatory, watching the sun set on a world transformed not by force, but by choice. "The final reports are in from all research centers," Meyer announced through the facility's communication system. "The protection sequence has achieved complete global integration. Every human born now carries the natural optimization potential, along with the inherited wisdom to develop it in their own way." Dr. Chen approached with a holographic display, showing a decade of data. "The progression is beautiful," she said, pointing to the elegant patterns of natural development. "Each generation builds on the last, but not through force or artificial enhancement. It's pure natural evolution, expressing itself exactly as it was meant to." Their son, now 10 years old, studied the data with an understanding that came not from enhancement, but from naturally optimized development. Around him, Other children of various ages engaged in activities that seamlessly blended advanced cognition with deep emotional awareness and intuitive cooperation. Marcus, who had long since found peace in supporting natural development rather than trying to control it, shared the latest findings from his research team. The protection sequence hasn't just prevented forced evolution, he explained. It's revealed the true path of human development, one where every step forward strengthens our connection to each other and our world. Elizabeth emerged from her final meeting with the UN Commission, her face bright with satisfaction. The international framework is complete, she announced. Every nation has committed to supporting natural evolution while protecting individual choice. The days of forced enhancement are officially over. Cooper, whose role had evolved from security chief to cultural advisor, added his perspective. The most remarkable change isn't in what people can do, it's in what they choose to do. When given the freedom to develop naturally, humans consistently choose paths that benefit not just themselves, but their entire community. Sarah and Alexander watched their son join a group of children working on a project that combined advanced problem-solving with artistic expression and social cooperation. His development, like that of all children, now followed no predetermined path, but instead emerged from the natural interaction of potential and choice. The Venice archives have been fully integrated with our current research, Maya reported, displaying combined data streams that showed the continuity between ancient wisdom and modern discovery. Everything we're learning now confirms what humanity has always known somewhere deep inside, that our greatest potential comes from natural development, not forced change. Through the cathedral's restored stained glass windows, the setting, sun cast rainbow patterns across the gathered researchers, educators, and families. Each beam seemed to highlight the natural harmony that now characterized human development, a harmony achieved not through control, but through understanding and support. The symposium participants are arriving for the closing ceremony, Dr. Chen noted, checking her displays. Representatives from every major research center, educational institution, and support facility worldwide. Their son looked up at his parents, his eyes carrying the same extraordinary awareness they had noticed on that first night, but now naturally developed and matured. "It's time," he said simply. Sarah and Alexander nodded, understanding what he meant. Together they made their way down to the main hall, where the cathedral's soaring space had been prepared for the final presentation. The assembled crowd fell quiet as they approached the podium. Sarah took a moment to look out at the faces, scientists, educators, parents, and children, all part of humanity's continuing journey toward its natural potential. 10 years ago, she began, we thought we had to control evolution to move forward. We thought progress had to be forced, directed, manipulated. But what we discovered was something far more powerful, the natural wisdom encoded in every human being, waiting only for the freedom to express itself. Alexander continued, the protection sequence didn't just prevent forced modification. It reminded us of what we've always been capable of when given the choice to develop naturally. Each person, each community, finding their own path forward while supporting the development of others. Their son stepped forward then, his presence drawing everyone's attention, not through any artificial enhancement, but through the natural charisma of optimized development. The future isn't about becoming something different, he said, his young voice carrying the wisdom of natural evolution. It's about remembering what we've always been and choosing to become it fully, freely in our own way and time. As the sun's last rays painted the cathedral in golden light, the assembled crowd rose in appreciation not just of the words, but of the living proof before them. Proof that humanity's greatest achievements would come not through force or control, but through the natural unfolding of potential, guided by choice and supported by understanding. The protection sequence continued its quiet work throughout the global population, not just preventing forced modifications, but actively supporting the natural expression of human potential. In every community, in every culture, people were discovering capabilities they had always possessed, but never fully realized. And in that moment, As the cathedral filled with the combined energy of human potential and natural development, everyone present understood. This wasn't just an ending, but a beginning, the start of humanity's true evolution, guided not by force but by choice, not by control but by wisdom, unfolding naturally one free decision at a time.